Hello, Justine, and welcome to your Aspects and Degrees Breakdown. This is about to be a doozy, so get comfortable. I'm actually going to start right here at your ascendant and work my way around the entire chart so that you get an understanding of not only the outline, the flavor, but also the intricate spices, if you will, of this chart and the karma that is rolled over from the past life that you're working on in this one, the gifts you have been given to get it done, and what your overall purpose is, which is probably being activated as we speak, because there is a lot going on in the world. I don't know if you noticed. It would appear, based upon this quick glance that I'm doing here, that this for you is deeply tied to your sense of self and what you have endured in this life, with you taking the Scorpio ascendant path, the Scorpio rising path of developing your soul through relationships with other people, especially if you had been married. I would imagine that that would have been a pivotal point for you in your life, especially if you had got married like before 30, then that might have ended in divorce with this sort of setup. Or you could have been in general held back from getting married until after 30, or even in some cases after 60, for you to achieve the goals that were set for your house of values. With you having your first house of self in Scorpio at 1 degree, this gave you kind, driven, and fair intelligence, confidence, and you would be able to enjoy success through travel and international jobs. This also indicates that you have some sort of artistic ability and a thrive. I'm reading this script I showed you. An ability to thrive when working in solitude. I would imagine that solitude would sort of be your peace with this going on here. It's working with your North Node. Your North Node is your purpose. It is trying with that. And for you, you were meant to come into this life, go really high in a position in your career, and then come back home to family and enjoy the spoils of your work with this setup. Um, with you having Jupiter in your first house in 6 degrees. Also, trying your North Node means just working with your North Node, but square your MC. This means that it is causing some friction. There's a lesson to be learned in order for you to achieve your peak in life, your midhaven goals, which for you is to be a leader, an entertainer, a performer of some sort. This could also be politician, somebody who works with children, just somebody who is able to live their life on their own terms, optimistically lighting up lives for other people. Um, Through this, wealth would be acquired for you. You'd have great success. And great things would come if you ever work with stuff that's buried in the ground. Something interesting, right? But this could also work with things buried in general, especially with that Scorpio energy being in first. You sort of have not only is your look engaging to most people because of that mystery that comes with the Scorpio ascendant, because this affects your looks as well. You also are sort of like a human lie detector, psychologist, just your sense, like your body probably feels when somebody is lying to you with this sort of energy here. You also have Venus here, which is your money would be made through your looks or those Scorpio gifts I just listed for you. With it at 13 degrees, you actually were gifted this good heart, but unfortunately, sometimes that can be taken advantage of. And that was in order to create a more skeptical character within yourself, a more probing. You're a little bit more into looking into what people are not saying, hidden things hidden beneath the words, so to speak. I guess weary. That comes from the soul development that you are working on right now. This is sextile your Mars, which means that this was put into place in order for you to develop some grr. If you did not have any before, if you were just too complacent with that DC descendant, which is your shadow side in Taurus, which would make you sort of slower to act on things, open, a bit passive in regards to confrontation, maybe. This sextile energy was working with that Mars in order to give you some grr. It was opposing your Saturn, which means that they were directly working against each other. So this definitely has something to do with your marriage or any partnership or best friends you've had or any commitment that required a contract. And once again, this is square your MC. This was a lesson that had to be learned in order for you to move towards a place where your self expression will become a gift for others to be inspired. The last thing that you have in this first house is your Neptune at 28 degrees. And what this degree means is you are able to use your sexual appeal and charm for success, but you might be bad at keeping secrets, but you will do well with jobs that require logic and speaking and talking. And this works with your Pluto. What that means is there was meant to be a time, I don't know if I'm talking past or future for this, but there was meant to be a time when you using your looks amongst your friends and the groups that you work with, it looks particularly like coworkers, there was going to be some sort of transformation that took place, because these energies sextile means they're working together. A group of friends of yours, like you had two different groups, like you might have started off with regular everyday coworkers, maybe in the health field or something that helps people improve their lives, but it appears that there's a different group here, a group of artists, maybe aristocratic type people with that Libra fashion, all those sort of finer, upper class, I guess would be the term, things. And I see you're born in California, so that sort of makes sense too. Now that I'm seeing that, you had it's square your north node, so you had to learn some issues about some things about using your looks, I guess, to move ahead, or not noticing that even that was something that was happening, that your beauty was a gift for you, but it may have caused issues at times. But it was always working with you reaching the goals of your MC. This Leo and 10th house energy, which it seems like a lot connects to here. Like your career was a big point, although there are no planets here and here. You did have your MC, your medium heaven as your idea of what was a big thing for you. By any chance, were you an actress? Because I see you have 5 degrees here, which indicates some form of fame as well. Just maybe short term, but there is this Neptune right here in 28 degrees. Although sometimes people end up getting 28 degrees because it's a generational planet, that degree is usually the degree of a household name for some reason. So I guess you'll clear that up for me when we get back to our follow-up discussion. So this leads us to your second house. What is the second house? The second house is all about the gifts you were given in order to bring currency to your life in this life. It's also the home of your values and your belief system, sort of, kind of. Just the things you really enjoy in this life. It's ruled by Venus. So it's all about the things you like as far as beauty and material items, things that can only be found here on Earth, would be the easy way to explain that. With you having yours in the sign of Sagittarius, um, at 0 degrees, this means you're independent, you have high intellectual abilities. Listening to your family or friends regarding your career path would be of detriment to you with this specific degree. If by any chance you had not followed your heart and went after your career and used your optimism and your optimism and your faith and your words to sort of pivot you away from your family, there is a chance that you could have missed like you're out to reach that midheaven, which would be extremely difficult to deal with if you had kept going on without doing it. But these sort of things, if it was destined to be, it doesn't matter what your age is, you're supposed to go after it, and because it's your main goal for coming here. At the end of that, I see you have some Capricorn. That means you have natural business skills, like you understand how to work a brand and entrepreneurship, if you will. And that's the natural skills of somebody who is here to further their legacy with business acumen. Now, with your third house of communications in the sign of Capricorn, this means that people where you're from, your siblings, people you grew up with, the neighborhood you came from, everything in that local area, they know you as the business person, or maybe you tried to sell stuff to them, or you're just known for what you do for a living, could be something as well. And you also have Capricorn in 1 degrees here, which means that you were restless and indecisive. Procrastination may have caused you missed opportunities, and that had to be avoided for you to find success in life. Um, you have a little bit of Aquarius at the end of this. So maybe eventually when some certain transits hit, you get to move over into that energy of being a part of the group more so than being a singularity, which is something I noticed that happens when you have heavy Capricorn energy in somewhere that is a house that sort of connects you to other people. And anytime you see Capricorn in a chart, it's usually about finances and things you can use to gain money along the way. Now your IC is at 5 degrees in Aquarius. What this means for you is that success will be achieved through your intelligence, and you would be an excellent spiritual guide. This is important because the fourth house is all about your home, your roots, your family, and that's where you come from. Any gifts that you have of connectedness spiritually come from the root in your family. This also means that maybe your family was humanitarians, maybe they were weird, or geniuses could also be an option. Artistic people, maybe hippies, people beyond their time, rebels. That sort of energy goes on when you have to live with a house that is Aquarius based with this energy, but you may have learned a lot and it may have seemed more like a friend environment, maybe not what people expect of a, what's the word, nuclear family or something like that. At the end of this cusp, you have Pisces energy, and that is where your North Node is, which is the main point here. Your fair character all. I said that all wrong, right? Please forgive my tongue. My Mercury's in retrograde. See, can't even say retrograde. Your North Node, which is the hand of fate, the reason that you came here this life. Um, is in Pisces at 2 degrees. This gives you a fair character to everybody. You don't judge people based on their class. And it promises fame sooner or later in life with great honors. And this is actually trine, which means it's working with your ascendant. So just who you are and the path that you came to do has to do with you getting to a level of notoriety in whatever field you are going to choose, reaching a peak and then being comfortable with it. With you having Pisces and fourth, this gives you a home that's all about dreams. It could be a whimsical home, just a place where you're able to find peace. A very spiritual home is also an option. And this is something, once again, that would be hit during certain transits um, in order to bring about that energy. Because you have houses that are sort of shifted, as you can see right here. You have houses that are sort of shifted, and you would experience two sets of energies. And as a matter of fact, I can show you how transits work while this loads in right here. Because you have a life that looks like it was meant to blossom. Some people have houses and they're like perfectly lined up, but you have like little small areas here. Okay, there we go. So you see how this is Neptune is in Pisces right now. That means it started over here. Maybe within the last, oh, because this started in 2012. So around 2012, maybe that was the time that you woke up actually, because it should have started in your dreams with this going on here. And that was definitely connected to this. But this also has to do with film. So I should mention that as well. Film, music, drawing, art, illustration, and that would be something that you did at home with this energy. That's important to mention because this fifth house is the house owned by Leo, which is a big part in your chart, with that being at the 10th house cusp and peak for yourself. Pisces in this house means film, music, art, illustration, dance, anything that has to do with performing, entertaining, because this house is about entertainment, performing, giving of your own special pizzazz in life to entertain or to share with others. It's about working with children, and it's indicative of what your relationship with your first child would be like. This would give you children who are dreamers, or your relationships with other people, which would sometimes, or like one-on-one relationships, dates, flings, and like friends and stuff. It would make them possibly addicts, or you'd have like fantastical relationships, meaning you would think one thing of the relationship and it would be something completely different than what it appeared to be at first. This, along with this Aries energy here, which means that you could have people that friends that were friends and people you date and people in your life who are soldiers, police officers, um, athletes, also could be an opportunity or something with this sort of energy here going on in your fifth house. And I noticed that with Neptune here, that connects directly back to your 12th house and that Libra energy we're talking about. So your friends could even be people in fashion, once again, that connects back to that, or people who work with clothing and beauty and that sort of energy too. I'm looking back at my notes here because there's something I wanted to mention. Oh, Pisces. That Pisces in your fifth house cusp is at 8 degrees. This gives you the great power of persuasion, and your career may include lots of travel, particularly on water. After a life full of adventure, one goes back to simpler times. This is also backed up by the fact that your North Node was supposed to have you back in simpler times. Like, I would imagine someone like you doing quarantine would be near some water or something, relaxing with this sort of energy going on here. So this leads to your sixth house. The sixth house is of your day-to-day routine, what it takes for you to keep your sanity, health, fitness, nutrition, and just what it takes for you to be happy on this plane. With you having this in Aries, you need to get physical. You need to get out, you need to work out, you need to see something, you need to do something in order to not lose your mind every day. But you have a little bit of Taurus at the ends of this cusp right here, which means that relaxation is important, a bit of luxury as well. Taurus is about cooking, cleaning, beating your face, going out in nature. If you drink wine, it would be that as well. With you having your sixth house in Aries at 7 degrees, this means that at times you can have a hot temper, you can create problems with your own animosity, and you could actually take all of that energy into creating a pretty solid career for yourself. That sounds crazy, but it seems like something about this aggression was always meant to lead to success for you. Like it's going to fuel your ambition. And we'll probably find out what that is when we get to the Mars side of your chart. But you also have Chiron in 8 degrees right here, working with your midheaven. So what does this mean? There was a wound in your independence at a young age that sort of pushed you into wanting to do whatever your career ended up being. And it says Chiron at 8 degrees for you means you're courageous and confident and great at achieving goals if you don't stray away from asking for help. Um, Maybe something about being hurt in your independence made it hard for you to ask for help going forward. But they definitely wanted you to note not to do that based upon people who have had this degree before you, because that's what the understanding of degrees is. This is a breakdown of a lot of people who've had these same things and the trends that they have noticed in this particular degree over thousands of years at this point. Next, we have your seventh house in Taurus. Now, the seventh house is about marriage and partnerships and anything that has a contract between two or more people. This is also the house of the public eye. With you having that in Taurus at 1 degree, um, you're supposed to have a great ability to follow through with your goals and partnership. But you may also have a problem with setting the bar too high, which could lead you to disappointment. You also have a note here to be careful with people who have faulty banking because of that, or just that you may have an issue with dealing with faulty banking over time. That's crazy that that's in there, right? They give you like petty issues throughout your whole chart because you also have Saturn retrograde at 22 degrees. And you know what that means? That means this life is actually a do-over for you because Saturn is in retrograde. This means that you got done with it and you decided that you could do a better job and you came back to replay the game again. Um, with you having that seventh house, Saturn at 22 degrees in the sign of Taurus. Change and income at the peak of your career if too many tasks are taken on to be completed. This could lead to a loss of income or status. So a bit of a workaholic, especially in regards to with your partner. Was your partner the workaholic or you? But something about this was going to, or is going to, um, because Saturn comes around every 28 years. So this is a continued lesson in order for you to reach the goal of your midhaven, which as you can see, because we talked about it so much, is a huge part of this chart. Um, your eighth house, ruled by Scorpio. So this rules your first house, the house of self and ego. Scorpio house, I messed that up. The house ruled by Scorpio, the eighth house is about sex. This one tickles me. That's why I'm so flabbergasted. It's about sex, death, taxes, inheritances, other people's money, morgues. This could be trauma, abuse, control, obsession, your spouse's money. You have that in the sign of Gemini, and that is actually where the North Node, the hand of fate, is going through right now. So all of those subjects that I just mentioned are actually the area that you are learning a lot about right now. With you having your eighth house in Gemini at 0 degrees, this makes you observant, patient, and loyal. You should have a good relationship with siblings if you have any, and success could also be found in education or working with kids. That is also backed up by the fact that you have your 10th house in Leo, which means that you would be really great with kids, which I think I mentioned. Um, this also means you have a possibility of having twins or a possibility of being a twin. Please let me know if that happened because that would be really cool with this going on here. Um, you're learning about a lot of 10 subjects right now, and you actually just came from a position right here with having Cancer at the end of this. Well, you may have had to care for somebody who needed help, or I guess that makes sense with the tone of the world right now, but you may have had to care for somebody recently, or care for somebody else's money, or help them through a difficult time with one of the subjects of the Scorpio house. Now you have your ninth house in Cancer. The ninth house is about spirituality, your belief system, spiritual gurus, but also foreign lands, foreign travel, foreign cultures, and food. Everything outside of the home base and things that you have learned from your family. And it seems like that was very important for you, like that you learned things outside of that, and that is actually where your moon is. Your moon is in Cancer, which is a representation of your relationship with your mother. um, this can mean either she mother smothered you, she was the perfect mom, or that she was not the perfect mom. But it looks like, based upon this, there's a good chance that she could have been like your best friend, so to speak, or radical. But either way, she inspired the way that you want to see the world, however it came about. Now, with you having your ninth house in Cancer at 1 degree, um, that means that you are supposed to sort of kind of be a mom to others with this information. Now, with that moon at 14 degrees, you have a tendency to become apathetic to friendships. You attract spongers, which goes back to me just saying that you're sort of the mom to other people. And that's something that you have to be careful with, but it's working with your Venus, which means that it helps you in regards to how you earn money and the way that you're seen and given money, along with your Jupiter. That means you expand. Every time that somebody sponges off of you, you only get better. um, this also means that it's square Uranus. So there's a lesson in this, in you developing boundaries, in partnership specifically, because your Uranus is in the sign of Libra in your 12th house. So there's something very karmic about your marriage, or your marriages, depending on this chart, um, and how you interact in relationships, because Libra is a sign of relationships. It rules that seventh house where you had your Saturn, your restriction, and you have 3 planets in your first house. So there's a lot that you wanted to do to develop yourself, that you were okay with it being done through anybody that you married or had a partnership or contract with. Now, this goes along with squaring your Chiron. So the wound that you had as well, that feeling of not wanting to ask for help, as this has been called out through the degrees. I love this so much. You have no idea. You have a little bit of Cancer. I'm sorry, you have a little bit of Leo at the end of that as well, which means that you would be somebody who would go over there and sort of start programs to help people if you ever saw somebody in the foreign land had a problem. Or also that one day maybe you'll take what you have learned and share it with other people, in order to inspire. Inspire light. This is big light worker energy at this point, or based upon how these transits are set up and coming together at this point. Since you've learned so much, you're supposed to be sharing the wealth of of your lessons, of everything that you have learned up to this point. Now you have your 10th house, which we've been talking about so much in Leo, with your midheaven at 5 degrees. This is sextile, working with your sun, working with your identity, who you came to be, which we'll get to shortly. Um, Square your Venus. So sometimes this could have been a difficulty. Who you are essentially in your career could have messed with your money. It's sometimes maybe people could have perceived you as having a ego with this going on, or your self-esteem because you didn't put yourself out there could also be the thing that affected your income with that. It's square your Jupiter, so if you did not utilize or work with the energy of that, it would have been worked against your expansion as well. But it was sextile Uranus. So it means if you had any over ego or under ego, once that balanced out with that Libra, because remember, Libra is all about balance, that would, through radical change, which is done by the planet Uranus, it was going to work out in your favor. With this midheaven and 10th house at 5 degrees Leo, you are strong and proud. This indicates possibly military, political, or athletic jobs that you could be drawn to with this here. Be aware of any injuries or anything that would put you in a position where violence may have to be used with this degree. Interesting stuff here, right? So since you have Leo here, we discussed entertainment, politics, acting, entertaining, dancing, anything that belongs on the stage. This is also big motivational speaker energy as well, or big teacher energy, or working with children. But also here you have Virgo, which makes me feel like maybe you could possibly write, even because Virgo is ruled by Mercury. which is ruled by Gemini, which is your third house, which is Capricorn, which means your business has something to do with entertainment, or you writing or speaking or helping other people get their lives together. And that is especially emphasized by the fact that your 11th house, the house that is all about your friends and the people you work with, in that it's filled with planets. um, that's a lot of Virgo energy. That means you came here to help a lot. You have your Mars, your Mercury, your Pluto in here right before you get that Libra sun, which makes you like beautiful, first of all, because Libra suns have the hookup. So let me get to this 11th house because it is a doozy. With you having your 11th house at Virgo at 8 degrees, this makes you generous and friendly. Money comes easily through life or inheritances, and it may bring issues due to one kindness. Now, we've heard that a couple times in here. Hopefully, at this point, some of your boundaries are up a little bit more, because it seems like that was going to be a hard lesson that was going to keep coming at you from many different angles about people taking advantage of you and your kindness, and sort of adjusting your boundaries to allow you to still help people, but not allow them to sponge, as they so delicately put it. You also have your Mars here, trine your Saturn. So that means that your relationship, your marriage, your partnerships, were definitely working with the goal of making you move towards your career. Tried and true path in life set by those that come before them. Practical with great intellectual abilities is the gift that March at 13 degrees gives you. With you having your Mercury at 14 degrees, this gives you a gentle character. This is Mercury is all about how you speak and how you work with people. Always helpful, not always appreciated in life because you're shy, but love is important. And avoid dating anyone married is like bold here for this degree. That was working sextile your Venus. So your words help you earn money. There's that point. And with it trying that Saturn, your words sort of worked with whatever took place in your partnerships or in your marriage that helped you move more towards being the sultry person that you have become over time. You also have Pluto there at 27 degrees working with that Saturn as well. This is an indication of coming from wealth or attaining wealth in this lifetime. Also, that family is very important to you. Friends are important, but you are hardworking and kind, and that is definitely seen based on a lot of the factors in here that you probably have an amazing heart. I think even the message you wrote me today was so sweet. I was so caught off guard. I felt so bad. I totally see where you're coming from now that I see your soul blueprint here. um, with you having your sun in Libra in the 11th house, you shine amongst your groups, because the 11th house is about fans. It's about your dreams and wishes, your aspirations, but the groups you connect with are friends, the causes you believe in, the things you want to um, rebel for, because it's ruled by Aquarius. It's all also about technology and online and just connecting to the rest of humans in this world. Now, with you having your sun there, that's where you shine. You shine in groups. With it being in Libra, you shine in groups of people who are beautiful or into fashion or into what are other Libra things? Painting, arts, high life, high society, magazines, editors, writers, literature. That's another thing going back to that third house where you earn your money. So, do you write? I'm really curious here because there's so many options and so much you could have done just based off of talent and the setup here. The main barrier was partnerships here for you. But let's get into this Sun in Libra here. With the sun in Libra at 0 degrees, working with your Saturn, which means it was working with whatever happened in your partnership in order to push you towards your career, indications of, oh no, it means you were overprotective of your family. Be careful with your ego. You have the gift of healing animals, especially horses, and you might be attracted to weapons and martial arts. This is trying that Saturn, but sextile that Neptune. This means it works with the energy um, that was karmically placed in here in your first house in order for you to step into um, the energy of karma. I was trying to figure out the way to say it. The energy of healing from what happened in whatever relationship you had in the past life that sort of made you this life want to spend some of it single. Because that is definitely what this is indicating by this setup here. Opposing your Chiron means that it's working against your wound of who you are. does not allow people to see that you are afraid to ask for help. Like you might be the type of person that appears you have it together all the time because of this. So you always appear at peace. But that note about be careful with your ego also stems to what we were saying, or what I was saying about your 10th house and how people may perceive you, especially with your sun in 11th, how groups of fans or how your groups of friends may perceive you and perceive your ego. Although it may not be that way, it's just how it comes off. But I see that there are notes of shyness here too. So maybe it's a mix. Maybe you have phases in your life that you used to be like really a timid, shy person, and now you're like a, I don't know, Elvira or something, because that's this heavy Scorpio energy going on here, as well as all the other sweet stuff. Now, the most interesting house, in my opinion, the 12th house, the house of self undoing, mental illness, all the leftover stuff from last life. That means your karma, um, what you owe, pretty much. So, you having Libra here means there is something that happened in your last relationships that made you decide this life, something had to change because you have Uranus there, the planet of radical change. But that Libra of 7 degrees means avoid violence at all costs because it may cause an early death. But we see that has not yet happened. So thank you for avoiding violence. But this gives you a quick temper, which is supposed to be used in your job and through physical exercise. It's supposed to actually help you keep in shape with this here, right? What kind of hookup is that? That Uranus in 8 degrees gives you a reserved character brought about by a separation or a death that happened during childhood or early teens. Be careful listening to your partners in relationships until you are sure they are trustworthy. This also indicates that you may have dealt with widowhood or divorce, maybe, and a heavy indicator that there is a second marriage to take place. But this also gives you great psychic powers along with the ability to read these charts here and divination. Now, this Uranus here is opposing your Chiron. So that means that this anger, this fuel over here was actually going to be aiding, eventually aiding you in your process to develop self, because Aries is all about yourself and who you are and who you want to be in this life. And independence was so important for you. You put it down as the one thing that you wanted to do every day of your life until the end of it. Um, this is actually the whole breakdown. I would love to hear your feedback on like how much of this hit on, because the degrees are very interesting because they go one or two ways according to this, but seeing how this plays out in your chart would be great to know. And thank you once again so much for your patience. I hope you feel like this is worth it. Can't wait to hear your feedback.